Well, HPD's crime scene unit, they were here for some time along with criminal intelligence. Now, that woman was found in a two-story apartment unit. You can see bags of evidence outside in that yellow crime scene tape.
There is new information about just how she was killed, which includes Satanism and assault.
What the f*** was the first thing to come to Victor Alice's mind as he texted his friend Jose Reyes. It was early afternoon on February 8, 2014, when Victor responded to a screenshot of a text conversation Jose had with another of their friends. "I'm sayin'," Jose told Victor. "Who was the lady?" Victor asks, to which Jose responds, he said he can't recognize. Earlier that Saturday at 2 a.m., that friend named Arturo was turning into bed at his parents' place after attending a Quinceanera, which is a party celebrating a girl's 15th birthday in Mexican and some Latin American cultures. But he couldn't sleep, so he decided to go for a smoke. This was a cold February night in Houston, Texas, so he ducked to a spot frequented by him and his friends, an abandoned unit that appeared to be under construction in what was called the Bays apartment complex. The unit had no electricity, so he had to use his phone's flashlight to illuminate the path in front of him. That's when, at around 4 a.m., he saw and walked around what he thought was an older woman in her 40s laying face up, arms and legs spread eagle, in the middle of the living room floor. It was bad, he would later say in court. It was blood and stuff. No eyes. Arturo said he ran to a friend's apartment, the occupants of which included two military brothers who were often compared to Duck Dynasty characters because of their unusually long beards. One of the brothers went into the abandoned apartment, saw that she didn't have a face, felt for a pulse, and immediately called emergency services. But Arturo didn't stick around. Before he left, he told the brothers not to tell the police he was there at all. While Arturo left the scene didn't leave him. Shortly after getting home, he logged onto his Facebook and saw Jose online. "Damn bro, guess what?" Arturo told Jose. "Do you see the apartment that's vacant?" Arturo added in Spanish, knowing that Jose had been in that unit before. "I went right now and I was going to smoke my joint, and fuck, there was a naked lady lying in the ground dead." "What the fuck, swear?" responds Jose, who afterwards sent a screenshot of the conversation to Victor. Arturo was both right and wrong. He was right about the fact that she was dead, but he was wrong about the lady part. That's because the victim was, in fact, a 15-year-old. "I confirmed that she was dead," Arturo continued in the chat thread with Jose. "I went and I called some ex-soldiers that are friends of mine, and they went with me to look at her and they touched her pulse, but she was already very cold." Jose then asked how she looked. "Damn bro," Arturo responded. "They beat her with a bathroom sink. Her face was bad. I didn't recognize her." Jose then asks if the police know, to which Arturo tells him yes, but admits that he didn't stick around. Arturo was on edge, and for good reason. Roughly 3 years earlier, the then 18-year-old had his life upended forever. He had left the United States and returned to his native Mexico, starting a job about a year later working in a peanut factory, which required him to push peanut shells into a grinder. The product would then be used to feed livestock. It was on his very first day when his machine stopped grinding. He said he was told by his coworkers that this type of thing happens and that all he needed to do was, of course, put his arm in there and shake things around. So he did. 4 months later, Arturo returned to Houston without that arm. So when he came upon the body, he must have thought he couldn't catch a break. Even though it wouldn't appear likely that someone with one arm could do the damage inflicted on the victim, he needed to avoid the authorities altogether. That's because Arturo was having trouble with immigration. The Duck Dynasty brothers were playing video games in their unit, which was directly across from the apartment that was now a crime scene, when Arturo came knocking. One of the brothers named Damien recalled in court that Arturo was 3 shades whiter, frantic, and was babbling. When Damien called the authorities, he said Arturo appeared relieved that someone was going to take care of the matter, and that the brothers wouldn't tell the authorities he was there. Damien would later say it was a mistake to have withheld that information when he was confronted about it later. Meanwhile, Houston police officer Miriam Gonzalez was dispatched to the scene at around 4 a.m. She described the victim, yet identified, as motionless, severe beating of her head and face, bottomless. She also said there was dried blood and her color was pale. Her immediate conclusion? Dead for days. Around the body were large pieces of porcelain broken from the toilet tank lid, which had been missing from the first floor bathroom. It wasn't exactly a mystery as to how it broke, because investigators were quick to identify hair stuck on some pieces of the porcelain, with other smaller pieces embedded in the victim's face. She also had tiny puncture marks all over her body. Sticking out of her rear end were 2 long white plastic rods. Their origin investigators weren't sure at the time. The victim's face, as noted, was disfigured, with severe lacerations going across her eyes. Those were only the immediately identifiable injuries. The autopsy would tell a more horrific story later. The rest of the scene was pure chaos, as shown by this video taken by Houston PD. This appeared like a unit under construction, with no furnishings and debris such as sheetrock strewn about. Besides no electricity, there was also no running water. Social media was alight with speculation, with some in the vicinity saying that the block was hot, meaning lots of police around. Jose shared with Victor a Facebook thread started by a woman relaying news about the victim. Some devil worshippers broke in her house and beat the shit out of her, the woman said. That bit emerged after investigators pulled up the victim's Rob Zombie shirt, which was held down by a bra that was strapped on the outside. The revelation, an upside-down cross engraved in her midsection, quickly revealed a possible motive. What the fuck? I never heard about no devil worshipper in Clear Lake till now, Victor told Jose in private conversation after the discovery. Jose simply said about Clear Lake, "Fuck Clear Lake, I ain't ever going back." We left her at the benches because she was too fucked up and we dipped to our own cribs. What the fuck happened to that hoe? Victor said about 15-year-old Corianne Cervantes over Facebook Messenger right at about midnight Saturday, hours before the victim was discovered. At this point, Corianne, who frequently hung out with Victor and Jose, had not been seen in days. "I don't know, fool. I know she had to wake in the morning and go home because it was cold the next day," Jose replies. "That's what I'm saying. She had to go home sometime," Victor says, to which Jose agrees. "I think she might be at someone's house or some shit. Because remember she said she couldn't go home," Victor adds, to which Jose says she was supposed to go to another girl's house. Up to that point, the last time Corianne's parents saw her was the night of Tuesday, February 4, about 4 days before the discovery in that apartment. And Corianne didn't leave on good terms. Earlier that Tuesday at around 5 a.m., Corianne told her father, Corey, that she was getting a ride with her friend to school. This was unusual because the routine was that her grandmother would come pick up the Cervantes kids for school at 7 a.m. every day. The grandmother carried the transportation load since 2010 because her son was gradually losing his vision. There wasn't much concern until it came time for Corianne's grandmother to pick her up from Clearpath Alternative School in League City at the regular time of 2:30 p.m. Corianne wasn't there. Instead, one of her teachers came out and said that she had not been there all day. So Grandma called her son, who was working at the Kroger near his home. There was concern all the way up to when Corey left work and walked through his apartment door just after 4 p.m. Corianne followed behind him. "I confronted her," Corey would later say in court. "I told her, 'Were you at school today?' 'Of course,' she said. I said, 'No, you weren't.' Corianne was grounded, which meant her electronics were taken away. She said that she hates me. She said she wanted me to die," Corey said, adding he was hurt by the words. "She said she hated me and she wanted to get out of here." Those were the last words he'd hear from his daughter. Corianne would slip out that night, never to be seen by her family again. The day after the discovery, Corey was notified that his daughter had been murdered. He and other family members then went to the medical examiner's office where they were told they couldn't see her immediately. The teen had to be identified by her dental records. Her toxicology report showed she had THC and had an alcohol level that was almost twice the legal limit. The autopsy showed a body brutalized. There were 61 puncture wounds, as well as abrasions, bruising, and blunt trauma, which was determined to be the cause of death. She had foreign objects put into her, including sheetrock and the white plastic rods. An X-ray was taken of her head, which showed an object resembling a hook behind her left eye. The examiner concluded that her right eye had been gouged using this rod, the origin of which still needed investigation. The examiner also noted evidence of hemorrhaging, an indication that her heart was still beating when this was happening. The attack was so violent, the medical examiner could not point to any specific part of the violence that killed her. The attack so constant, the examiner found that some of the dozens of stab wounds were inflicted before and after her death. The attack so overwhelmingly savage that investigators believed there was no way it was done by a single person. I don't know, lol, I wasn't finna get caught up with her. I'm already in enough shit already, right? Victor texts Jose at around midnight Friday, about a day before she's discovered. Me too, Jose responds. I was like, okay, go to your friend, cause my mom was at Kroger waiting for me after we left her. Oh, I don't know, she wanted to stay at the benches, shit, fine with me, I went home, CXLMAO, Victor says. To which Jose responds, LMAO, same here. Corian's home life was already difficult before she got into that fight with her father. Back in 2007, her father and her mom divorced in California. By then, Corey and the kids had already moved to Texas. 4 years later, in 2011, the family learned that the ex-wife almost ended it after struggling with her mental health. The family begged Corey to take her back. They assured him she was getting better because she was taking medication, and she did better when she was around her kids. There was a lot of tension between me and my ex-wife and with the daughter and the mother, he would add. It was just a lot of tension going on between all of them. I think she was trying to get out and be with her friends, to not be home at all. It became more aggressive between her and her mother, he added. It was more like a love-hate. One day they liked each other and the next day they hated each other. The family lived in the Presidio apartments, a short distance from the vacant apartment in which Corian rested. Corian was described as your typical teen, a bit on the quiet and reserved side, and who had a boyfriend before the seemingly inevitable breakup. She had been transferred from Clear Lake High School to Clear Path Alternative, an institution for those who struggle with regular school. She attended with some troubled friends. Victor and Jose knew Corian, but maybe not too well. They were among a larger circle of friends who hung out at a location called the Plantation near the United Methodist Church at the Bays apartment complex. One of those friends included Randy, who also went to ClearPath. Earlier in their conversation that Thursday night, about a day before Corian was found dead, Jose had asked Victor where Randy was because he had heard he was arrested for something. At 12:16 a.m. Friday, Jose texts, "Shit, Randy doing 10 years." Victor asks, "For what?" To which Jose says he's trying to figure that out. 3 minutes later, Victor messages, "What the f***, I heard Corian missing or some. I didn't see her at AEP today, OTC." Perhaps referring to the same alternative school he went. "What the f***, missing?" Jose responds. "I don't know, I heard some happened to her and now I'm hearing Randy getting locked up for 10 years, right? That don't sound right, cuz," Victor tells him. "I'm saying my little homie can't do time for no reason," Jose says, with Victor responding, "That's what happened. I'm saying I know Randy ain't like that. We all wouldn't do shit like that after she cool with us. No, we all was cool with her," Jose responds, presumably speaking about Corian. Randy had met Corian at Clear Lake High School and the two became friends in their freshman year. He described Corian as laid back, chill, and she mostly kept to herself. "She would hit me up. I would hit her up to come chill," Randy would later say in court, adding they met up every day at the plantation. "We would chill after school and during school." It would turn out that Randy was indeed arrested on an unrelated case on Wednesday, February 5, about 3 days before Corian's discovery. He became a suspect only briefly in Corian's death until investigators could rule him out. To put it in the lightest of ways, the friends in this circle were not the best influence on each other. They mingled over alcohol and drugs, specifically the Mary Jane and Xanax, which the cool kids call bars. They did this on a regular basis, and 4 days before the discovery, on the evening of Tuesday, February 4, was no different. After his argument with his daughter, Corey said his ex-wife asked him to get something from Kroger. He told her no, but she argued with him. "I didn't want to go to the store because I wanted to keep an eye on my daughter and make sure she wouldn't try to get out or do something," Corey said in court. Corey eventually relented because of all the arguing and left to the store for nearly half an hour. When he got back, Corian was gone. It was dark out, so he said he texted her and started calling her friends to see where she was. But he got no response. When Corey got up the next morning, Wednesday the 5th of February, Corian was still not home. That prompted the Cervantes family to call the police, and file a missing person report. A couple of weeks earlier, in January, a middle-aged woman nicknamed Candy was heading down to the laundry room of her apartment on El Camino Real, on the other side of that same Kroger, when she saw Jose and Randy, one sitting on a table and another on one of the washing machines. It was past midnight when Candy, whose real name will remain anonymous, went to move her clothes from the washer to the dryer. It was very cold, Candy would later say in court. I don't know who spoke first, but they were cold, and one of them needed their phone charged because they couldn't find a place to charge their phone. And they said they didn't have anywhere to go. I offered to let them come to my apartment. The boys accepted. Suddenly, the woman's apartment, once a place sheltering just herself, was playing host to the teens and their young friends, whom she supplied with alcohol, and they the Mary Jane. Ma'am, I'm going to ask you what everybody is thinking, the prosecutor in the case directed at Candy at trial a little more than a year later. What in the world were you thinking, letting teenagers come to your apartment, allowing them to drink your alcohol, and smoke marijuana? I don't know what I was thinking, Candy admitted. It was a poor choice. I was very lonely and they were very friendly to me. She said she had recently gone through a divorce, but that there was nothing romantic going on with her and the boys. She said she was still ashamed. But this wasn't a mistake of the that was just a one-time thing and never again variety. The kids were at her apartment on a couple of other occasions. It only stopped becoming a party place because it played host to Corianne the Tuesday night she went missing. I got out of school and then I got on Facebook and I hit Corianne up to see if she wanted to chill, Randy said in court about that Tuesday. He said the two spoke at around 3:30 that afternoon and agreed to meet at the plantation. Despite being grounded, Corianne met up with Randy at the meat spot. At first we were just chilling for a little bit, sitting down talking, Randy testified, adding she was normal. Just chill, happy, nothing on her mind, he said, noting that she didn't tell him about the trouble at home. The two then left to go to the Bay's apartment complex to meet a supplier to buy some Mary Jane. As they were walking back to the plantation, Randy said he got a text message from Jose to meet him at the Hamptons, an apartment next to the Kroger where a Xanax dealer lived. Randy said Corianne had never had a bar, and he said she asked him to try it. The sedative, which is used to treat anxiety, gets you drowsy and then the next day you don't know what you did. You know parts of what you did, but at the same time there's blanks, Randy explained in court. After leaving the Hamptons, Randy and Corianne were then joined by Victor and his cousin. They then headed to the plantation to smoke and socialize. They stayed for nearly an hour before heading to Candy's apartment. It was now around 6 p.m. Everyone was drinking, including Corianne, who Candy testified drank more than the rest. At some point, while they were seated on the couch, Victor said he and Corianne got flirty as their conversation deepened. At some point, things got sexual, he added. Inside of 2 hours, Corianne is stumbling and falling, Randy testified. Candy assessed the situation and told her she could sleep the night in her bedroom. At around 8:40 p.m., Corianne is splayed out on Candy's bed. She just fell straight to the bed and passed out, Randy said, adding her face just hit the bed directly. She spoke a little and then fell asleep. She's half on the bed and half on the floor. Then there's a knock that causes Randy to turn his attention toward the bedroom door. It was Candy asking who locked the door. But when Randy opened the door, Jose, who wasn't initially with them, was on the other side. He looked riled up and pumped up and everything, Randy testified. His eyes were pumped up. I thought he was on some other type of drugs because he was so different from earlier, Randy added. Victor, who at least at some point was lying next to Corianne, testified that Jose looked mad and thought it was because he got sexual with her. Jose then asked Randy where Corianne was. He then brushed by him and went into the room, closed the door, and locked it. By that point, Randy's mom was waiting for him outside, so at 9:10 p.m., he left the apartment, walked across to the Kroger parking lot, opened the door of his mom's car, and got in. I was telling my mom that she was messed up and I wanted to stay there longer to watch her, he testified. I heard that you and him, got all f***ed up and, killed some girl, and now it's all getting blamed on him, a friend of Jose's told him in private chat hours before Corianne is discovered. Hell nah, I've been with my girl every day, Jose responded. Damn. Yeah, well, people know not a lot, just me and, 2 other people, that's just what people saying, she responded. So they think you and Randy killed someone? Victor asked Friday night in response to a screenshot of the conversation. Yes, the fuck, Jose said. What the fuck? That's dumb as fuck. They saying y'all killed someone? Victor responded. I wouldn't fucking kill no one. I ain't capable of that, Jose said. What the fuck? Randy ain't either, fool, Victor added. I'm saying, Jose said. What the fuck, bro? All this trippy, Victor said. Right? Jose added. What the fuck? I don't even know, bro, Victor said. I'm saying, Jose responded. Nah, fool, I think they trying to blame him or something, Victor said. Yeah, Jose responded. At this point in Candy's bedroom, Victor had a lot on his mind. The 16-year-old ClearPath alternative student, who was described as a quiet kid and more of a follower in his friend groups, was due in court the next day on a previous charge of burglary after he and his friends broke into a home and stole a gun and a TV. Prior to that, he and a couple of his friends stole a golf cart from an apartment complex, only to be pulled over on the street. He was on probation out of Harris County Juvie Court in that case. He had long maintained that his involvement in those crimes was limited. For example, on the burglary charge, he admitted that he broke the window to let his friends in the home, but that he wasn't involved in taking anything. Got taken out of school at 11 and been in an 8x12 cell in Atwater in a blue jumpsuit and just got released, Victor wrote on his Facebook wall on January 31, 2014, a handful of days before Corian's body was discovered. Gotta go to court the 5 and they gonna tell me how long I'ma do, he added in the post, the 5 corresponding to the date. Victor had a low IQ of 85. English was his second language to Spanish, and he flunked 9th grade at least twice. That's a burglary of habitation, that's a felony. That means they got you on a house like, you finna be up in placement LMAO 30-day impact. Better go in that hoe and show 'em what the H bout, said someone named Anthony. Victor replies, it's the house we hit, but they can't find sheet to pin that hoe on me yet. The fact that you just said that, what you said convicts you of it. LOL, now they can pin it, said a guy named Nick. Another bystander named Robert adds, damn, that's true, delete that shit, bro. Nick can't help himself. They can still see it, LOL. Facebook has a history you can't delete. It'll only delete it where you and the rest of the community can see it. The conversation then ends. Victor was born in Houston and lived in Clear Lake. His dad passed away before he knew him, and his mom could not speak or hear, so the family developed a sign language to communicate with her. He was raised by his El Salvadorian grandfather and lived with about a dozen other family members at home. Victor knew Corian from Clear Lake High School before he was kicked out of the school for fighting a guy who he said threatened his girlfriend. He was relegated to ClearPath, where he again met up with Corian. Victor got out of ClearPath at 2:30 p.m. that Tuesday and was driven home by his parents. He was chilling before he got the text from Randy about hanging out. He then asked Randy to get some bars. They would meet up later that day with 17-year-old Jose, who was at the Hamptons. Jose was described as charismatic and, when compared to Victor, far tougher. He was a high school dropout involved in the rap scene and did harder drugs than the rest of the group. That was perhaps what Randy thought he was seeing when he saw Jose pushed past him into Candy's bedroom and closed the door. It was after 5 unnerving minutes that the bedroom door opened. I then asked them to leave because it was late and I wanted to go to sleep, Candy said during testimony, referring to the boys and not Corian, who she expected to stay. Then she noticed Corian leaving with them. Why are you leaving? Candy said she asked Corian. I thought you were going to spend the night. She said that she was going over to Jocelyn's house to spend the night. She didn't want to stay there. I said, are you sure you want to go? And she said yes. Corian was being helped by Victor and Jose, including down the steps outside of Candy's apartment. Candy watched as they practically carried her down the stairs. It was the very last time she would ever see the teen. Arturo never recognized who he stumbled upon in that abandoned unit until February 11, 3 days after the discovery. I saw people had on their hand R.I.P. Corian, Arturo recalled, at Clear Lake High School. I also caught a news segment that they found out that it was Corian. I couldn't believe it, he said, noting that Corian was a good friend of his who he met in school. She was a sweet person, friendly. Arturo was scared to come forward about what he knew for a couple of reasons. The first was that he was concerned about his immigration trouble. The second was that his fingerprints and DNA were in that vacant unit, so he was scared about being implicated. But the angel beat out the devil on his shoulders. I just wanted to do something right, Arturo said in court about his friend, saying he approached a school officer about what he knew. He said he was never pursued by immigration after that. By then, investigators already had some promising leads. David Nettles was an officer with Webster PD who worked with troubled youth. He was at home when he got a message on his private Facebook page from a young girl who was a runaway in a case he worked. Crucially, she had information she wanted to share about the homicide. Roughly a day later, Victor was at ClearPath Alternative on Monday the 10th, 2 days after the discovery, when he suddenly felt sick. He went to see the school nurse at around noon. Suddenly, a couple of sheriff's deputies approached him, searched and patted him down, and then told him they have an arrest warrant out for him, but didn't tell him what it was about. He was real calm, Houston Police Officer Errol Chan said in court. He's got his head down, real quiet. A day earlier, Officer Nettles relayed to Detective Mark Condon on the Houston homicide team the informant's name and gave him 2 suspects in Corian's homicide, Victor and Jose Reyes. The informant told Officer Nettles that she was Jose's ex-girlfriend and the bearer of his child. She said she overheard a conversation he had with his sister in which he told her what allegedly happened that night, and he seemed to be bragging about it. Detectives then drafted a probable cause statement for an arrest warrant for Jose Reyes on February 9, the day before Victor's arrest. They apprehended him at his apartment and then were allowed by the family to look through his bedroom. Next to his bed was a bedside table that had satanic etchings in it. 666, upside down cross, Detective Condon said in court. In the kitchen there was also upside down crosses, and the 666 is etched into the kitchen cabinets. Detectives were putting 2 and 2 together, namely the carvings on the cabinets and the carving done on Corian's body. In the interrogation room, Victor was flanked by not 1, but 3 investigators, which a veteran detective on the force said he only saw one other time in his career, and that was with an adult kidnapper. At this very point, investigators had evidence submitted, but they didn't have the results, such as the origin of the white plastic rods that were inserted in Corian. They also didn't know where the puncture weapon was.
Victor, you realize I'm a homicide detective, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any idea why you're here?
Because I got blamed for something.
What do you think you got blamed for?
Well, the lady told me it was for the murder of Corey Ann.
Okay. So let's talk about that.
Let's talk. I'm trying to get out of here. Like, I'm here for no reason. I was with her on the 4th. I was with her on the 5th. On the 5th, I was home all day because I had to go to court.
Okay, so where did you go with Corey Ann?
We were at one of Randy's friend's house. I don't know her.
Okay. Where else did y'all go?
After that, we all dispersed because Randy he got picked up, and then we went to the plantation, and then I was like, well, I'm going to go home because my aunt's about to pick up my cousin from work, and she always leaves 30 minutes before she picks up my cousin from work. So I left like before she woke up and had to go to pick up my cousin.
You realize what you say in this room is going to decide decades of your life?
Mm-hmm.
That we're not playing games?
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I'm not telling you all I know.
No, you're not. You're not even close. You haven't even started touching the truth yet, Victor.
What do you want me to tell you?
I want you to tell me the truth. That's what I want.
Truth.
Yeah.
All right, what do you want to know?
Where did you go with Corey Ann and Jose?
Corey Ann, we were at Randy's friend's apartment.
And then where did y'all go?
Then we left.
To where?
I left to my house.
No.
Yes, I did.
You're already starting to lie.
You can ask my parents. I went home.
Oh, I plan on asking them, but I know exactly where you went. We know a whole lot of stuff that you don't think we know.
I'm telling you the truth.
No, you're not. We can bicker back and forth all day long, but I need to get through to you somehow. You're not going home after this, Victor. You're not. You're not going home, buddy. Okay? What you say to me in this room, what you say to me and my partner in this room, is going to decide decades of your life.
So how come I don't get to go home? I didn't do nothing.
Because you're in custody.
But
you're under arrest.
But I didn't do nothing.
Yes, you did, Victor.
What did I do?
You murdered Corey Ann with Jose.
I did not murder Corey Ann.
Okay. Well, let me tell you what. We had Jose sitting in that exact chair last night for an hour and a half, and he told us everything.
I didn't murder Cordian. How many times do I have to explain to y'all? I didn't do it.
Well, you haven't explained nothing. So how many times are you going to lie to us before you start telling us the truth?
What do y'all want to know? Ask me the question.
All right, here's what I want you to know, okay? You're going to get charged with this thing, and you're going to go on trial, all right? There's going to be 12 people, and we've got all kinds of evidence that shows what you did, and we're going to present it, and they're going to be mad. They're going to see what I'm going to show you in a minute that I know you've already seen before, what happened to this 15-year-old girl, the horrible way that she died. Hold on. They're going to see that. They're going to be pissed. The only shot you have at making things easier on yourself and making this thing in any way as right as it possibly can be is to start telling the truth.
I'm trying to cooperate with y'all. I'm asking y'all, what do you
I'm in an interview. Quit calling me.
Because I did not do it. On my right hand to God, I did not do this. I hanged out with her the day before I went to court. And after that, I didn't see her at all.
Oh, that's a lie.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
You understand that we processed her body in that apartment, right?
Yeah.
You understand we got DNA off of her and fingerprints off of her. Okay? So what are you going to say when that comes back as yours?
Well, I can tell you that I had sex with her in Randy's friend's apartment.
Okay.
If that's what y'all want to know.
So now we're starting to take a little bit of steps here. You need to start taking more.
You know exactly what happened inside that vacant apartment between you, Corianne, and Jose. All right? And you're not listening to me or my partner. You're not listening. It's not getting through to you. And I tell you what, in 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 years, you're going to wish you could go back in time to this time right now in this room and tell us the truth.
Because
you're not listening.
Those 12 people that I've talked about, they're going to find you guilty. Okay? What they're going to have to decide is, are we dealing with a psychotic psychopath that we need to put away for the rest of his life so he can't do this to anyone else? Or are we dealing with a kid that made a bad mistake and who maybe deserves at some point down the line a second shot at life? Let that sink in, because this is your one opportunity to save some part of a life for yourself and bring some justice to what was done to this girl, which is flat out horrible. People are not going to understand it. They're going to be mad. You got to tell us why this happened, and you got to show us that you've got some kind of remorse and some kind of a soul in you.
All right, I'm going to tell you how how everything happened.
Please do.
Randy texted me on Facebook, told me that he wanted to chill. I did not know he was with Corianne. I went over there to the Hamptons, and Corianne was there, and we went to go get some bars. Randy went to go get him, and then we went to the laundromat, and after the laundromat, it was kind of cold, so Randy said, let's go to a Vaco that he knew at the Bays. All right, so we went to the vacant apartment, and then we went to, when Randy's friend told him, we went to her apartment, Randy's friend's apartment. And then that's when Corianne said Jose was coming over. Jose came over, and we were just chilling, and my aunt was about to go pick up Frank, so then Randy was about to leave, so we went to the plantation. I left Corianne at the plantation. Yes, that's what happened.
Victor, I'm not your mom and I'm not your dad. Okay, I'm a law enforcement officer. Throwing your hands up like this and talking to me like I'm your mom or dad, like you took the car out when you weren't supposed to, isn't going to work with me. Okay, it's not going to work with my partner either. We know exactly what happened in that apartment. Jose told us everything, Victor. You need to start telling the truth. You're telling about this much of the truth, and this is the truth.
So what do you want?
What happened in that apartment? What's your version of it? Because all we got is Jose's version. And he's dropping you in the grease. He's blaming this all on you. Is that how you want to go to trial?
No, sir.
With just Jose's statement?
No, sir.
Do you think she deserved that? You want to see the pictures?
Yeah, I think you need to take a look at what you did.
What happened in that apartment, Victor?
That used to be a 15-year-old girl with her life ahead of her. You did this.
I did not do that.
Yes, the people in court are going to see this, and they're going to know you did it. Those things stuffed into her are going to have your DNA and prints on them.
I did not even touch that. I did not even do that.
After roughly 18 minutes of denial, Victor would give detectives what he later described in his defense as the story he was pressured to give and that they wanted to hear. Victor and Jose helped Corianne down the steps of Candy's apartment, across the parking lot of the complex, and up 3 flights of stairs to get to the vacant unit. With them that night was Victor's cousin, but only briefly. The 3-story building was configured so that the second floor of the complex was the first floor of these 2-level units that sat on top of other apartments. The teens entered from the top floor, through the sliding glass door, and then went down to the first floor into the sloped ceiling closet they called the hot box. A hot box is a name used to describe a room where the smoke from a blunt is not ventilated, thus supposedly enhancing the effects of the drug. That's what Victor's cousin said he thought they were going to do, until 30 seconds in when he realized that flying high was in fact not what was going to happen. So he left. Among the state's evidence in this case are graphic phone photos taken by Jose of him positioned behind a half-naked Corianne as her head is positioned over Victor's nether region. There are 3 photos from Jose's phone entered into court as exhibits. 2 are of different angles of what I described. One with Victor lying on his side at the back of the closet throwing up some weird hand gesture. It is important to note that the court accepted that this started as a consensual sexual encounter, even though Corianne was extremely intoxicated. There was testimony that Jose had been talking romantically with Corianne before. During this consensual rendezvous, Jose and Victor switched positions, with Jose in the front and Victor in the back. Victor testified that's when he saw Jose grab an ashtray, which he may have taken from Candy's apartment, and hit Corianne up to 5 times in the head with it.
Touch her. I was having sex with her, and then Jose started hitting her. Okay.
And what happened?
He started hitting her with the ashtray. And then I just stood up and I started flipping out. I didn't know what was going on. I was scared. I already have an open case. I didn't know what was going to happen. I saw him hitting her with the ashtray and she was bleeding everywhere. And the first thing she does is gets up and tells me, she's like, Victor, why are you doing this? And I didn't even touch her. I'm telling y'all the truth right now. Jose started hitting her with the ashtray and I didn't even know what was going on. I just got up. I was like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? And then, I don't know what he said. I just got up. I walked to the living room and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I just started tripping. I didn't know. Jose started doing that to her.
So you're telling me that Jose did everything and you just stood there and did nothing?
Yes, sir. I was tripping. I didn't know what was going on.
That's not true. That's not true, Victor.
Yes, it is.
The only way you're going to feel better and the only way this is going to go better for you is to tell us what you did, not what Jose did. We know that you hit her.
I didn't hit her.
Yes, you did, Victor. Yes, you did.
I'm telling y'all the truth. I was having sex with her. Jose started hitting her. She got up. She looked at me and she was like,
why did Jose start hitting her?
I don't know. We was in the dark room. I was having sex with her. Jose just comes out of nowhere and starts hitting her.
Victor gave a couple of different accounts as to what Jose was doing before the attack, which turned Corianne bloody. In one version, Victor said Jose was on his phone and was asking him a series of questions before the attack. But Jose would tell people after the murder that Corianne bit his penis, a none more straightforward way of conveying that she wanted this encounter to end. Now put yourself in her position, the prosecution urged Victor when he took the stand in his defense. You wouldn't want someone putting that in your mouth after it's been somewhere dirty. Victor agreed to the hypothetical, but not to that being how things played out. Either way, Victor testified that he freaked out and asked Jose what the hell he was doing. There was blood on her head and on the floor. At some point, Corianne bumped her head against the sloped ceiling, hence the blood there. The boys then got out and trapped Corianne in the closet by pushing the stove against the door. They used this time to think about what to do next. Meanwhile, a forensic expert testified that Corianne struggled to get out because of the blood smears on the door and the doorknob.
Which one of y'all hit her with the toilet basin top?
Jose did.
Okay, so your fingerprints aren't going to be on it at all? Your DNA is not going to be on that toilet basin top?
I picked it up and I was going to get rid of it and Jose was like, nah, just...
Oh, all right, you're just laying it worse and worse on yourself, Victor. No one is going to buy this crap. Even if we didn't have all this evidence, and the more that we're going to get. You keep saying honestly, and then you tell us a little bit more of the truth. So you weren't honest the first time. This is your one opportunity. You're 16 years old. You're going to be 60 in prison because people are going to see this interview and know that you're full of shit and that you don't care about what happened to her.
Hey, Victor, can I throw you a lifeline?
Yes, sir.
Everything he's saying is wrong.
will determine whether you are prosecuted in the juvenile court or we're going to certify you as an adult. And on your 18th birthday, we're going to send you to prison for the rest of your life. All right? These are your options. Talk to us. Stop this lying. Save yourself. And make a decision right now. Because every time you lie to us, the jury is going to look at that and goes, if he lies to those cops one more time, I'm going to send him up for 10 more years. And if you lie again, they're going to say, I'm going to send that kid up for 10 more years. So do yourself a favor. Make that man decision right now that you're either going to be prosecuted as a juvenile or you're going to be prosecuted as an adult. And you're not serving yourself well by lying. No more lies.
Okay.
All right? You tell us from start to finish. You tell these detectives from start to finish. And if you tell one more lie, you have no chance of seeing this resolved in the juvenile courts. Last chance.
After Jose started hitting her, he told me to get the belt, my belt, and choke her because she was going to say everything. I was scared. I didn't think.
So you choked her with your own belt?
Yeah.
Or a belt that you brought?
Belt that I brought.
Was it wrapped around your waist?
Yeah.
So you're wearing the belt and you took it off? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Or did you bring it there for the whole purpose of killing her?
I didn't even know that was going on. Like, he started hitting her. I started tripping out. And then he was like, choke her because she can say stuff. So I didn't think. I was just thinking about, like, the 2 felonies I have. I have an open case. I didn't want these.
Hey, Victor, forget those cases, man. Forget them. They don't mean anything now. This means everything. Okay? Did she try to get away once Jose started hitting her?
She just sat up, and she was like, why are you doing this to me? And she looked at me like she was talking to me. She was like, why are you doing this to me? And I'm like, what do you mean? And she was like, why are you hitting me? And then I just get up and I'm like, what the fuck? I just started getting scared because she said she kept trying to say it was me when it was Jose.
When they finally moved the stove, Corianne tried to make a run for it, but was restrained by Victor, who put the belt around her neck.
I just leave the room and I'm just tripping. I don't know what's going on. And Jose's like, he's like, take off your belt. He's like, she's gonna talk.
Okay, so you put your belt around her neck, and then what happened?
I just started choking her.
For how long?
Like 3-5 minutes. It's my 8 feet belt.
I want you to pretend I'm her. Okay? Show me what you did to her. Is she standing or is she sitting?
She's sitting.
Or is she on the ground? She's sitting? What is she sitting in?
Just the middle of the living room.
I want you to actually put it around me. And I don't want you to tighten it 1 second, but I want you to show these detectives what you did.
I just
stand up. Were you standing or were you sitting?
I was standing.
Pretend I'm her.
I'm behind her.
Okay. And where was your friend?
Jose, he was in front of her.
He's here where this detective is?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is he standing or sitting?
She's who?
Is your no? She's standing at this point?
No, she's sitting.
Yeah.
He's standing.
He's standing. So you're behind her.
Yes, sir.
He's in front of you, and her. Okay. And what is he doing something to her at this time?
No, he's just telling her to be quiet and to be quiet. And that's when I just put my belt around like this and I put in the loop and I just start pulling it. And when she
and did she try to resist?
No, she was just choking. She was just I was just choking her and she was just.
Were her fingers inside here or outside?
No, sir.
Where were her hands all the time?
On her side, I think.
All right, give me a little demonstration. Show me what you're talking about here.
Well, she was like, when I started doing it, she was on the floor, and then I got on the floor and kept pulling, and then I was like,
pulling what? The handle here?
Yeah.
Pulling the hand a little bit.
This right here.
With one hand or two?
Both.
Okay, well, there, that's what you're doing.
Yes,
and can she talk at this point, or is she?
No, she was just trying to gasp for air, and then.
It took about how long, you said?
Like 3 or 5 minutes.
What happened 5 minutes after you started?
I just started thinking. I looked at her and I just took my belt off, and I was like, I can't do it.
Show me one more time.
Huh?
So show me one more time. You put it around her neck?
Yes, sir.
Do it one more time. She's looking at your friend, and you walked up behind her, Does she know you behind her? Does she know what you're doing? Or
Yeah.
you sneak up behind her?
Yeah, she knows.
And she didn't resist?
Like, when Jose was talking to her while it happened, and then I just put her on the neck.
Did her face turn red or blue? Or
It turned blue, and that's when I looked at her, and then I just pulled it off. I was like, I can't do this.
did she collapse to the ground?
Yeah. She was already sitting on the floor, and then she collapsed.
Did she talk after that, or no more talking after that?
When I took my belt off, she started gasping for air.
The toilet tank lid had already been on the floor when it is believed Jose picked it up, even though a DNA profile from either suspect could not be obtained. Having to deal with both Victor restraining her with a belt and Jose in front of her, Corianne elected to deal with the threat in front of her, hence why the prosecution argued there didn't appear to be scratch marks on her neck, indicating she tried resisting Victor. A blood spatter expert testified that Jose would have used both his hands and swung the heavy lid from right to left in the form of a baseball swing, which broke the lid. It's thereafter that the pieces are used to inflict more injuries.
All right, so he hits her with the ashtray about how many times you think again? Like 5 times, and then you choke her for 3 to 5 minutes. And after that, are you telling me that Jose is the one that did everything to her?
Yeah.
You just stood there while he did everything? You didn't do anything?
Yeah, I was barred out, and I was tripping. I was just...
Because that's not what Jose's saying, Victor.
What is he saying?
He's saying you did some of the hitting too, buddy.
I did not hit her. I'm telling you the truth, the honest truth right now. I did not hit her. Like, I choked her because he was like, choke her, she's gonna snitch.
Okay.
And then when I was choking her, I looked at her and I just let go of the belt. And then I just...
And then after that, you're telling me that Jose did everything else.
Yeah, like when he grabbed the toilet thing and just broke it on her face. And then that's when I picked it up and I was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Why would you pick it up?
I don't know. I wasn't thinking. I don't know.
I think you probably hit her with it, didn't you?
No, sir. I didn't even touch her. That's the only thing I did to her is I choked her. Because I was scared. I was not thinking. I was barred out. I just didn't know what to do.
Isn't Jose into, like, Satan and stuff like that?
I don't know.
Come on, man.
No, I really don't know. Like, me and...
How long you known Jose?
I've known him for like half a year. Like, I don't really know him. Like, it was like an on and off friendship. Like, we used to go to Clear Lake together, but we really didn't talk. And then he moved to Friendswood, and he started chilling with Randy. Then I started chilling with him a little bit, but I really don't know much about him.
So, are you into Satan stuff?
Why would I have a cross tattooed on me?
People get stuff and then change their views.
I've been Christian my whole life.
Well, then why is Jose telling us that y'all killed her to sell your souls to the devil?
No, that's a lie. I did not. I did not do that. I would not sell my soul to the devil.
But Jose just made that up?
He said he was going to sell his soul to the devil, but I'm not selling my soul.
When did he say that?
He's been talking about it for a long time.
So you have known that he's into Satan stuff?
Well, yeah, like, but I didn't really believe him. I thought he was just playing around. Then...
Did he talk about it that night?
I don't think so.
I think you probably remember.
No, he didn't talk about it. Like, I don't know the reason why he did it. The only reason I choked her because I didn't want to, like, I didn't want her to say anything because I already had an open case.
And he did all... You're saying that he did the rest of this stuff to her. Where were you when he was doing it?
Just by the kitchen.
You were watching him do it?
Yeah, I was just panicking. I was just...
What was he saying while he was doing it?
Nothing. He was just doing it, and I was just walking back and forth.
Was she alive when he was doing this stuff to her?
No.
At what point did you think she died?
Maybe when he like started stabbing her eyes, because she was still like gasping for air after I let go of the seat, whatever that's called.
Belt.
The belt. After I let go of the belt, she was still gasping. That's when I got up and just dropped the belt. I just started walking back and forth. I didn't know what to do.
About how long did he work on her? And
not that long. It was just like 5 minutes, and then she was like, "All right, let's go." And I was like, "Come on, let's go." I just wanted to get out of there. I'm pretty sure if y'all found the screwdriver, it was at the church. So I'm telling y'all, I threw the screwdriver at the church, threw it at some bushes.
Despite being alive for most of the rest of the savagery, it is also unknown whether Corianne was still conscious after the lid attack. If she wasn't, it would be the only real consolation in this story. Victor told detectives that the white plastic rods that were found lodged in Corianne were pulled from the upstairs bedroom window. That was interesting to detectives because no one was able to determine their origin at that point. The medical examiner was able to confirm that the rods did in fact come from the window blinds, but this was after Victor's testimony. Before insertion, one of the boys put the rod through her right eye, hence the hook getting stuck behind her left eye. Jose then took the screwdriver that was lying there and began stabbing her violently all over her body, a total of 61 times. He was in the midst of stabbing her when she passed. His final act was then to use that same screwdriver to carve the upside-down cross on her torso. Victor then said Jose washed the weapons and handed them over to him to discard. The ashtray and belt were never recovered. Victor said he threw the belt in a Presidio apartment dumpster, which was emptied when detectives called the complex.
So after all this is over, I'm sure y'all had a conversation, right?
Actually, we did not even talk at all. I was like...
You didn't ask him why he did that?
Yeah, I was like, why'd you do it? He was like, don't worry about it. And I was like, what the fuck? And I just got mad. Like, my mind was full of anger. I just wanted to get home, just forget about everything, just not see nothing.
What was Jose's demeanor after y'all left the apartment? Was he happy, sad, angry?
He was saying something about how he was, like, it feels good or something, and I just...
They then traveled to Victor's place, and at 10 a.m. the next day, Jose left, with surveillance stills showing he had been at the Kroger at the time. Aye, and the murder Arturo was talking about was on the news, and he wasn't lying. A 30-year-old Hispanic woman got beaten to death, Victor said about Corianne on the afternoon of Sunday the 9th, just before Jose's arrest. What the f***, Jose replied. Yeah, that shit was at the Bays, Victor said. Damn, fool, when, Jose said, to which Victor said he didn't know. Jose then instructs Victor to call someone and ask if that's what really happened. Jose's final message to Victor was at 3:29 p.m. on February 9, right when the cops swooped in and arrested him at his home. Days later, Matthew Gray was called up to assist in the case. Gray, who was an investigator in the district attorney's office, made a living investigating crimes against children, which meant he needed to be familiar with the social media apps. He was tasked to obtain the Facebook records of several people in the suspect's circle. But none appeared more interesting to him than Victor's, not just for what it included, but for what it didn't. The Facebook records were a snapshot of Victor's conversations from January 4, 2014 all the way up to Jose's arrest. While Facebook does not release the contents of deleted messages, it still logs them as such. From January 4 to February 6, investigators found that Victor deleted 88 messages between him and Jose, which is not incriminating in and of itself. The good bit came when they discovered the wall conversation on January 31, in which Victor is informed that police can see his Facebook posts. Investigators conclude that Victor, endowed with the knowledge Nick provided, deleted any incriminating messages between him and Jose. But instead of staying silent, they acted surprised by Corianne's discovery and created that fake conversation between them to throw investigators off their tail. Victor denied much of what he said in that interrogation room when he took the stand at his own trial. His claim to that was that he was being pressured by the three aggressive detectives to tell them what they wanted to hear, not the truth, according to him. He denied that he attacked Corianne to keep her quiet because he was worried about his prior felonies. He denied that he choked her and therefore denied that he restrained her. He denied that he assaulted her. He repeated that Corianne was his friend, and his defense team pointed out to the jury that he got emotional when the graphic crime scene photos were shown. His story to the jury was that when Jose started beating her, he fled to the kitchen, crouched down, and put my head in my hands, just kind of sat on the floor. I was scared, he said, claiming that Jose threatened him for shouting at him to stop. I never seen nothing like that before. The state argued that the inconsistencies in Victor's story and the convenience of his excuses cannot be swept away by general denial. On convenience, he acknowledged touching the murder weapons, but gave excuses outside of murder for why his DNA would be found. When no one knew where those white rods came from, he knew before the medical examiner finished her investigation as to their origin. He explained that away by saying he was able to see them clearly protruding from Corian when he aimed a cell flashlight. In his prior felonies, he admitted he was there, but not that he engaged in the follow-through. And he said Jose told him to delete the Facebook messages and enter into that fake conversation. Everything he said in court, the state argued, served to walk back his statements to detectives and/or to minimize his involvement. On inconsistencies, he said in one part of the interview that he didn't know about Jose's devil worship tendencies, but then later said that he was into that stuff. He said during interrogation that Corian turned to him and asked why he was doing this when she was hit with the ashtray, but in court he said she said that to Jose. And despite telling detectives that he put the belt around her neck, he denied it when he was on the stand. To be convicted of capital murder in Texas, the defendant must be found to have committed an intentional killing while doing another felony, which in this case would either be a kidnapping or a sexual assault. The defense argued that though Corian didn't ask for what was to befall her, she voluntarily went to the abandoned unit and consented to the sexual interaction, so there wasn't an underlying crime that Victor committed. The team ultimately pointed the finger at the alleged real killer, Jose, who they argued threatened Victor and initiated their Facebook chats to ensure he didn't speak. The jury didn't buy it. Victor Alice was convicted of capital murder in June 2015 and was automatically sentenced to life in prison. Because he was 18 at the time of the crime, he is eligible for release after 40 years from the year he was sentenced. Jose, who was 17 at the time, had by then already been sentenced to the same penalty when he was also convicted of capital murder by a jury in December 2014.
A Harris County, Texas jury convicted Jose Reyes of capital murder. Because he was a minor at the time of the killing, he was not eligible for the death penalty and was instead given an automatic life sentence. Prosecutors say Reyes and another team killed Corian Cervantes inside a vacant Clear Lake apartment, then bragged about it to their friends.
9 months later, after committing a horrible act and sitting in jail, waiting for U12, he has the audacity to write someone and say, I stabbed the hoe 60 times. She was not a hoe!
Additional evidence as to Jose's lax attitude about her murder was presented to that jury, which was faced with the decision to either convict him of capital murder or the lesser charge of just murder. Jose's sister, the mother of his child, and other people around Jose told investigators that he laughed, rapped, and mentioned Victor when talking about the crime. Additional evidence included letters from jail in which Jose said the devil was watching him and told him to commit the slaying. My mistakes are my mistakes, he wrote according to court testimony. Nobody, I don't blame no one, but the thing that came in my life from the first time I sold my soul. I hope you understand it wasn't me that day. I remember everything, but I know it wasn't me. I couldn't do nothing about it because he was standing there watching me and Victor do our job the way he wanted it to be done. My life is fucked up. I know that I will come out of this situation I put myself in since day one. It's all good. It's what the devil asked for. In the normal course of doing these documentaries, I look at the full range of photos taken at the scene. It's not out of curiosity per se, but out of necessity to provide the most accurate picture possible as to what happened. You often hear investigators on TV say, "This is the worst thing I've ever seen in my X number of years in homicide investigations," or whatever. And maybe more often than not, that's because it makes for a nice soundbite or quote for reporters. In this case, John Jordan, who is the chief of the Felony Trial Bureau for the Harris County District Attorney's Office, told KPRC2 Investigates in Houston that,
in all of my 25 years, I've seen a lot of evil, and I've seen a lot of crime scenes and crime scene photos. I have never seen a crime as brutal as this one.
I'm a cynic, but after reviewing the file photos, I absolutely believe him. To me, this was cartel level bad. Just getting through the photos while trying to locate a specific exhibit was a difficult endeavor. They are images that, to borrow another cliche, do not leave you. I'm saying this to punctuate the point that this was a crime unlike any other I've seen. The only thing you could hope or pray for, and if there's any consolation to be had for the family, it's that Corianne might not have been conscious when the devil took the wheel. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to listen to me narrate the story, which was based on the primary sources. Special mention goes to the local reporters for bringing light to these cases, to the court clerks for assisting with the case files, and to you guys for engaging in the subject matter. I hope you're well, you're engaging in acts of charity, and don't be Jose or Victor. Goodbye.